Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Dip Dipianco.
We give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Kyla Kingston. Watch the game live and our past episodes on demand on the Pilipinas Live app.
Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. And as we approach the midpoint of the ongoing PVL All-Filipino Conference, the Final Four race is shaping up to be exciting and unpredictable. Now joining us to dissect all the action in the PVL is volleyball analyst Mela Tunay. Mela, welcome to the game.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Grab-
That's so nice to see you in the studio naman for a change.
Of course, Kyla, join. I need her here para meron tayong courtside stories later on. But Mela, exciting PVL action, especially last night, no, which ended in a 5-setter. Creamline versus Petrogas, two of the top teams right now in the PVL. How is it shaping up to be in the standings right now in the All-Filipino Conference?
Well, if you're part of the, upper-ranked teams, medyo masakit sa ulo, no? Kasi, among our 12 teams, alam naman natin, 4 lang dyan yung papasok. Pero since this is the last conference this season, talagang mas nag-level up yung mga teams. Even yung mga teams na lower-ranked, the previous conferences, talagang umaarangkada din sila ngayon. Talking about the likes of the Akari Chargers, diba? They've been winning against the top teams as well. But I guess essentially yung mga more established teams, after I looked at the standings, ayun nga, pantay-pantay dun sa, or at least yung top 7 natin, medyo mas malaki pa yung chance, no? Kasi ngayon, every game counts, and every set, every point, kasi nga minsan, dun din nagkakatalo sa mga quotient. So it's definitely a much more competitive season ngayon.
Now, Mela, yesterday's quadruple header ended with such a big game between veteran-led teams, and we have Petrogas and Creamline. But we're starting to see the shift of the spotlight from these veterans to some younger talents, which is really great. The immense amount of talent in our rookies, and you actually gave us a list of some talents that you want to talk about. So let's go through some of those players. So first, we have Ea Laure of the Cherry Tigo crossovers. So what can you say? This is her second conference now. How has she stepped up and how is she leading the charge for the team?
Well, actually, the level that Leia is playing right now, that's what was expected from her nung unang pasok niya sa Cherry Tigo. Kasi she was playing at such a high level during the UAAP, as we know. And then, syempre, nag-adjust yan sa pro. Pero ngayon, lumalabas na yung tunay niya na laro. And it's very similar on how I see sila Trisha Tubu, sila Kate Santiago. Because when I watched them before sa UAP, iba talaga yung mga pasabog talaga. Sabi ko, ay, bagay na to sa PVL. Hinog na. But when they got to the PVL, medyo nagmukhang babies pa talaga, nagmukhang rookies. But now, grabe, there was a time na in the stats, when we look at the stats, makikita natin Myla Pablo, Alaysa Valdez, yung mga veterans natin, but now the ones that are really topping the charts are ito, sila Ea Laure, Trisha Tubu, Kate Santiago, and even Faith Nespero. So, nagkaka-age reveal na tayo.
Right, and si Ea Laure with Cherry Tigo, recently I just saw a clip na lumalabas na yung swag. They're looking more comfortable in their team with the crossovers. Lipat tayo sa isa niyang nakasabayan back in high school pa at patuloy nakasabay niya here in the pros. Faith Nisperos also growing more comfortable in pink with the Akari Chargers.
And I think isa siya sa talagang boost na kailangan ng Akari kasi isa sila sa mga newer teams, no? And they've been injecting more star players, and din Santiago Manabat, Fifi Sharma, pero yung pamatay sunog talaga na kailangan nila. I think that was Faith Nesperos. Kaya din naging mas maganda yung ikutan ng scoring sa team nila. And syempre si Faith, same nga sila ni Ea, talaga mga blue chip rookies in the PVL. So ang ganda ring highlight ng game nila. That was Akari Cherry Tigo, and I think Akari won over Cherry Tigo. And from that, doon din siguro nag-intensify pa yung laro nila Ea, kasi after that loss, nag-back-to-back wins naman din sila.
Yep, Faith Nisperos is the 4th best blocker. She's known for her scoring, but right now she's the 4th best blocker and 10th in receiving in the PVL. Alam ko meron pa tayong listahan na parte kay Mela. Go ahead, Kyla.
Yes, of course. But I just wanted to add in about Faith. I got to cover one of their games, and she told me that they're really blessed to have new additions like Fifi Sharma and Justin Hazaren, who have really been contributing to the team. Now let's move on to Trisha Tubu, whom you mentioned is really stepping up for the Farm Fresh Foxy. So what can you say about her performance?
Well, kanina yung term na ginamit ko, pasabog talaga, no? Kasi I think she really adjusted well, and I think a big part of that is Louis Romero entering the roster, no? Kasi, I cover their first game and iba sila from how we watched the Farm Fresh Foxies last conference nung bagong-bago sila. Ngayon, parang mga 1 year na sila sa PBL. Ganun yung gelling na I think na-develop nila. And I think only a few blessed setters talaga yung kahit bago sila, napakadali sa kanila mag-adjust. They know yung mga preferences ng mga spikers sila. And with that, nagsashine yung mga spikers. Like ito nga sila, Kate Santiago and even Trisha Tubo. And it's very hard for you to be #1 top scorer in a professional league and rookie ka.
Right.
And Trisha Tubo managed to do that.
And they're looking for their first win na lang. No? Yun na yung kulang para sa Farm Fresh. Hinihintay natin yun. She is #1. You mentioned 131 points as of the moment, and of course had that career high 30 points against F2. And last but not the least, in your list of young talents, Kate Santiago also part of the Foxies, doing some damage para kay Coach Jerry.
Well, si Kate naman, I want to highlight yung maturity niya because we know how lethal she was when she was in Adamson.
Yeah.
But now, I think syempre si Trisha Tubo nga, being the top scorer, she knows na, okay, role to ni Trisha to score for us, to be the #1 go-to girl. But every time na kailangan ng ate, wala pa kasi silang ate eh. So parang ako, personally, as a volleyball player also, yun yung nakikita ko sa kanya na vibe, na parang she's becoming steadier and she's becoming the ate also of her teammates.
These are the players that are leading the way somewhat for their teams. Pero meron din naman those players who are rising to the occasion. Meron tayong dalawang Ericas of the PVL in your list. Erica Raagas and Erica Santos. Unahin natin si Erica Raagas of the Chargers.
Yung mga Ericas ito rivals before Ateneo Lasal, no? But, even in their collegiate years, kilala sila. Nag-start Magic Bunot muna until they made a name for themselves. Pero dalawa sila sa mga players na nag-transition din agad to PVL. And I think it's very nice to see how they also matured and developed into key players. Kasi especially Erica Santos from PLDT, no? Dahil #1 siya na top spiker ngayon. And usually nakikita natin dyan mga creamline players, yung matataas talaga yung efficiency, sunod-sunod sila usually in the previous conferences. But now, for Erica Santos to manage to do that, talagang overtake everyone. And to think November 7, wala siya sa list, and then now, #1 na siya agad, it really shows her improvement as well.
And yeah, you talked about Erica Santos, who's actually recently a POG. So what a feat for her, right? It's
That's
so
right.
great to see her step up.
Erica Santos for the PLDT high-speed hitters. What can you say about her growth naman so far? We know that she didn't play a lot of minutes back then in college for LaSalle, right?
That's right. And ito nga, si Erica Santos, siya yung minention ko actually kanina na being the #1 spiker. I think with my experience also with Ate Rhea as a setter, magaling siya magbigay ng kumpiyansa sa spikers. Pero once na yung nakita niya yung spikers niya nagkakumpiyansa na, talagang she will always give you a lot of sets. And I think nag-take advantage din talaga si Erica Santos dun sa opportunities na yon. And parang she's been giving us an all-around game. Kasi minsan sa blockings, talagang siya rin yung nagta-top score in that department for their team. Pero ako naisip ko lang, galing Lasal to. Isa yan sa mga ano niya talaga, mga talent niya talaga na napapakinabangan talaga ng PLDT ngayon.
Right, and we are looking forward to seeing more of these players in the PVL. Kyla and I will see you also in the
Yes.
Premier Volleyball League as we continue to cover the games soon here on One Sports. And thank you, Mela, for joining us and dissecting sino ba yung mga players na dapat nating abangan in the PVL.
Thanks so much, Div. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mela.
And after the break, we'll look into the race to the Final Four in the UAAP Women's Basketball Tournament. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back to the game. As the UAAP second round of action is coming to a close, a few teams are making their final stretch in the hopes of advancing to the Final Four. Here with us today to talk about who has made it and who is fighting to make it is UAAP basketball analyst Riza D. Welcome to the game.
Thanks for having me.
Riza is the perfect person to talk us about the UAAP women's basketball. Riza, unahin natin 3 teams already in the Final Four here in the UAAP women's basketball. But grabe, sobrang dikit pa rin ng standings. Unahin natin dyan ang defending champions, the NU Lady Bulldogs. How have you liked their performance so far? Do they look like they can make it to the finals all the way here in season 86?
Alam mo, it's hard to tell. Especially 3 teams secured already the Final Four spot, which is NU, UP, and UST. Actually, those 3 teams are capable of beating each other. They had really a good game in the first round, second round. We experienced overtime, so it's hard to say who's gonna make it into the finals. But yeah, these 3 teams are really good teams.
Now let's move on to UP, who is returning to the Final Four after a long 15-year
Wow.
drought.
Yeah.
So that's long. And earlier we had a little conversation where you mentioned that UP were actually your rivals or opponents when you were in the finals way back then. So can you talk more about how they've made it all the way back to the Final Four?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to UP community after 15 years. So the last time they make it to the finals or Final Four was in our time, which is 2008. So congratulations. And then what we see sa sistema ng UP right now is that they don't have a star player na they are really banging on each other. So ang napansin ko din sa kanila is they really have a good lineup. The depth of the lineup is really unimaginable.
Yeah, grabe yung performance. Of course, Luna Ozar and also Favor Ono doing the scoring load para sa UP Lady Maroons. And sinabayan ka no, sa pagbalik dahil alam na rin, nagko-cover ka na ng women's basketball. So sige, pasok na rin tayo ng Final Four. And of course, also part of that list is UST. They were part of the Final Four last year. They have the same core, so they're looking like a legitimate contender still for the championship.
Yeah, especially with the addition of Kent Pastrana, who is leading in terms of scoring for UST. She averaged actually 19 points per game. And also the comeback of Reynalyn Ferrer, one of the veterans. She's playing her last year this season. So she's averaging almost 13 points per game as well for UST.
Right. We've talked about the top 3 teams so far, no? Pero sa 4th spot, syempre, that's very much wide open. The race to the 4th spot, Riza, is very much open. Unahin na natin yung Ateneo Blue Eagles. What can you say about them? You have the players like Casey De La Rosa leading the way for the Blue Eagles.
Yeah, Casey De La Rosa also leading in terms of MVP race at the end of the first round. So I think that Ateneo has to be consistent in the remaining games for them to be able to secure the Final Four spot. While for LaSalle, who is 3 wins behind them, every game will be crucial for them. Especially tomorrow, they're gonna face up against UP, which is the number 2 team this elimination round. So it's gonna be an exciting game for the rest of the elimination round.
Well, this is the UAAP where anything can happen. You know, we've seen teams jump up the
Correct.
ranks. So, you know, you never know. And let's move on naman to LaSalle. Let's go deeper into their performance this season. How have they been performing for you?
For me, they lack on inside presence and also limited yung rotation for the players. So I covered their last game against NU. Actually, last 4 minutes or 5 minutes of the 4th quarter, they were just down by 1 point. But it's just that naubusan na sila ng gas and the NU team is just accelerating. So, well, nakuha ng NU again yung panalo. But again, they have to improve on take care to minimize those turnovers as well.
Well, Kyla was a correspondent for LaSalle men's, but I'm sure she will be happy if the women's team will also make it to the
course.
Final Four. But Riza, what do you think has been lacking for them sa LaSalle? No? Kasi you mentioned that this is a team that reached the finals last season. Ano yung hindi present here in Season 86? Or did the other teams just get better talaga here in Season 86?
Well, my point na, all the teams are really hinahabol yung talent ng NU, which is a lot of players are part of the national team. But for LaSalle, I think they need to improve in terms of the bench players because dun yung lacking nila. Hindi ganun kalalim yung bench. And also, all the players should contribute.
Right.
Now, you spoke about LaSalle, and we have a top player, Luisa San Juan, who is doing really well for the team. Can you speak more about, the leadership that you're seeing from her, trying to bring her team up? They were doing so well last season. How has she been able to, pull up her teammates and the bench members for this Final Four?
I think for Luisa San Juan, she needs to be more consistent. I covered their game against Ateneo. She produced 29 points actually. But after that, medyo, nabawasan yung performance niya. And if she's gonna be consistent all the way up to the end of this elimination round, who knows? Baka makapasok pa sila ng Final Four.
We've talked about these teams, but Riza, after covering majority of the games here in the women's basketball, what has surprised you the most, whether it's a team, a specific player, sa mga napanood mo and na-cover mo?
Okay, what surprised me the most, interesting question, is that, any team can beat any team. So yun yung exciting part this season because we know that the past years, 7 years, we know that, pagdating ng Final Four and championship, we know 80%, 90%, we can say NU ang mag-champion. But now, it's gonna be an interesting one because who knows, Ateneo beat UP, which is, di ba? They ended up the #1 team in the elimination, but Ateneo beat UP. So, yun yung napansin ko this season. It's gonna be exciting because magkaka-level yung talent ng teams right now.
Sobrang unpredictable and we look to, of course, watch the remaining games as you covered that. Of course, our former UAAP MVP in the women's division and of course, our analyst. Thank you, Riza, for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Riza.
And more sports stories after the break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back to The Game. Let's take a look at the pair of explosive matchups that went down the wire in today's NBA regular season action. In the Eastern Conference, the Indiana Pacers hold off the Milwaukee Bucks 126-104. Tyrese Halliburton led the way with 29 points and 10 dimes, with Benedict Mathurin chiming in with 26-11 double-double. Now, 6 players scored double digits for Indiana as they spoiled the Greek Freaks' 54-point outburst. The Pacers now improved to 5-3 with a 4-1 record at home. Meanwhile, Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks edge out the Orlando Magic in another thriller, 120-119. Ice Trae had a monster game with 41 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists as the Atlanta Hawks overcome a late rally by the Magic to notch their 5th win of the season.
Don't forget to catch the NBA regular season on NBA TV Philippines and the Pilipinas Live app for just 149 pesos a month. To all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. I am Kyla Kingsu.
And I'm Dip Dipianco, and this has been The Game.